Hello everyone, Genghis here and welcome to a clan wars battle between YOUJO and Claws. And before you go like, oh my god Genghis, what's this trash, I never heard of these clans. I didn't really either, but they're North American clans. AKA this replay is from the NA server, and they are not trash clans. So there's actually some pretty decent clan wars. Now, first of all, I'm going to be talking about the clan wars game in the comment, just commenting the tactic here, and what's going on. What you have to know is that on Lakeville, the northern side is a defending side. On yes, obviously it's a tournament and so on. And in this specific battle, YOUJO is defending. And you're even going to see they actually camp to quite some degree. But what's really interesting here is that they don't really have a setup that looks like camping, right? They have 5 113s, so those are light, decently armored, aggressive heaviums. We have 250Bs, which are nice fire support. 3 215Bs, which I guess are already a bit more of a campy tank. Since they have a lot of HP, a great gun, are not that fast and not that great at pushing because of their rear turret, although that also depends on the situation. And 2 907s. Not honestly, I don't even know why they went with 907s here. But okay. And finally 2 Batshots and 1 RT. The Batshots having one of them climb over there actually. Yeah. That's a slight climb if you're not aware. It's not the hardest as far as I know. Not that I've ever done it actually, but you can drive up over there and there's a bush, which allows you to spot this a bit better, a bit earlier, and you can kind of run away. Although, not honestly, you might as well just stand there. And then finally the Batchet here in the bush, obviously, is there to spot the middle road. Now, I also got a slight message with this. This tactic they played after the day before. The enemies pushed the valley, aka the same clan, same enemies, pushed the valley, catching them off guard, basically. And so they tried something new, right? A mouse gets up over there. So let's talk about this for now. We have a Batchet spotting the valley. We have a Batchet which at the beginning spots the middle. At this point they spot the enemy pushing the valley actually. And we're gonna see how they react. But until now, YOUJO had most of their tanks, so all the tanks standing here, except for the Batchets and the 5 113s which were here. Now what was the idea behind that? Is a pretty good question. To be honest, the only thing I don't really agree with though is the 113 position right here, because they can get shot on the side from the enemy base, and they can get shot by RT in case they were to get spotted. I would have rather liked to see the 113s, I don't know, either a bit more back, let's say in this area, or a bit more forward actually, and maybe a bit more down, so maybe there, or even here, or I don't know. But I think that their basic idea was, we have the 113s in the city, so that if the enemy pushes the city, they're kind of her first buffer and all this rushes in instantly. And in case the enemy doesn't go city and goes to the valley, or doesn't go city with a lot, or just comes city with some mediums or whatnot, we have a lot of high DPM, high accuracy, high pen, and with the 3215B also some nice armor and HP, which can just snipe the base for days, while we have 2 Batchers ready to decamp. So when they spotted the enemies pushing valley, right? They decided to push their 113s down here and get aggressive in this area, while enemy also having an RT by the way, while at the same time sending the 2 907s back to here, to create kind of a first line buffer, and send the 1 Batchet which was in this area into the middle. I definitely like the idea of sending 1 Batchet into the middle, if they're putting on pressure over here, because that guy is able to get in some side shots, for example, right? For example, this 113, whatever he was doing there could have completely gotten wrecked from middle. I'm not so sure about sending the 907s back here though, especially keeping the Batchet here. I really think this Batchet right here, right now, should be standing in one of these bushes here, which allow you to spot cap and so on. Because while getting this position with the 907s is nice, because they can kind of go hold down and so on, it's really not that great, because they can get pushed by, let's say, mouses or 57s frontally, which you just don't want to be while happening in a 907. And if they go back too far right, they could get shot by these people. So, I don't know, I'm kind of mixed on the 907s going there. You can, you cannot if you want to have hold down. But this Batchet should definitely fall back to some bushes there. But otherwise, I really agree on the Batchet being here. And I think even that the really good move here to have done would have been to send one of the 907s down the middle. Because he's flat, he's got high camo, he never reloads, he's got constant DPM, right, every 5 seconds. He's got decent accuracy, and he's got very high DPM on top of being a constant shooter. And he could just keep spamming anything supporting here and so on. But okay. Now since they are defending, right? Right now they, YU is a really happy, YOUJO, not even, how the fuck is this clan name? YOUJO is in a very good position actually. They have this area under control. Well, I would like them having a bit more in middle, even maybe some 50Bs or whatnot. If the enemy would try and push this, They could get shot from middle, and this could get support, right? Especially since they would have had to cross more like... They can't cross Mouses and T-57s over here now. These 113s here are really not in the best position. It's kind of an ESL defense, right, that they're doing here. I don't know, for those of you who played or watched ESL when Lakeville was in the map pool. You had 2 cap circles, one here, and one more or less there on the defending side. And a very standard defense would be to have T-32s and IS-3s in this area, and some lightweights which would go over there and defend that side. And this really kind of reminds me of that. Anyway, at the same time, obviously the enemy still has their heavy force pushing over here, right? Which I'm assuming from what's going on is losing some tanks and simultaneously grinding forwards. But these guys are arty safe, these guys shouldn't get spotted. Their arty should be able to keep shooting into the middle at any times, or into this at any times. What I don't really agree though, really, yeah, I agree, is a 113 counter push, to be honest. I don't really know. Like, I guess at some point the 113s, I don't even know if they would, you know, decided to push in, or on their own, or were meant to push in. But I really don't think that was necessary there. Like, there was just no reason for them to. They are defending, they had the advantages, they had the crossroads, right? Like, normally I'm the kind of person who says taking map control is always great and so on. But if you have 3 enemies, or 4, stuck in a position where they are not arty safe, cannot move backwards because you have a batchet in the middle spotting them and they get direct if they do, and cannot move forwards because again you can keep these hold downs or whatnot, and if they cross this they get direct in the side and you have good positions, why would you want to push them if they can have unspotted snipers in the back? But okay, so at this point it looks like the enemy is doing a desperate kind of counter rush where at the same time they're pushing this with Mouses and 57s, rushing into the middle with some mediums. And I guess that's kind of one way this can kind of work. And at the same time, right, rushing back here with our other mediums. And although the 50Bs are in middle at this point, by the way, which I really appreciate of, or at least came there. The batchet dies, which I guess can happen because he got rushed by two 140s, right? But yeah, since they pushed with the 113s here earlier, all the 113s were kind of low life and spread out, and unable to survive. Let's see if this one gets away. This is the correct move to do for him, definitely, right? There's no point of him also dying here with the others. If he can get away, he definitely should try to. But, yeah, the 50Bs are now forced to run away very quickly from the middle. And I also agree with that. Like, there's definitely some very good leading going on from this side. There's, I don't know, some things I'm a bit but, does he get out? I don't know. The 50Bs, right, were in the middle. Which was a good idea at that moment, because they were able to support the batchet, they were able to support the 113s, and if needed they could come back to base quite quickly. However, as soon as the 113s died, and with the enemies pushing here, if the 50Bs would stay in middle, obviously they could just get farmed by these people, right? So the 50Bs decided to, or ran back here. Now, it seems kind of an obvious thing, but in my own experience, most 50B players themselves would have not realized that, would have been too worried of, for example, getting wrecked by the Mouses while rushing here, of getting spotted by the Mouses and then shot from these guys while, you know, crossing the open here and so on, and would have just stayed in those rocks trying to hide for as long as possible and probably died at some point to a crossfire. So that is definitely a really good move. The 907 is still alive here, trying to get some spots in and so on. But yeah, and this is pretty much the exact situation for which, I don't know where the other batchet actually died, maybe when the mouse was pushed? 2 batchets died over there. But yeah, in this situation I really think there should be a batchet or a 907 standing in a bush over there. Alright, like right here, spotting the cap. It's just way simpler, way safer, way better than using a hold downs or trying to get spots from over here and so on. And if you are in this kind of situation, definitely recommend playing like that. So the enemies at this point are getting really... like, they stopped capping even, but they're rushing in here with these tanks, and that's definitely a mistake, right? The 907 just went too deep. And like, well, on some point, the enemies here, like the 113 and the 907, they had to do something. They couldn't just completely hang back. Just rushing in like that didn't really work out, did it? So yeah. Now, to keep talking about that, by the way, one of the main ideas also how this kind of capping strategy on this map does work, yeah? It is not completely retarded to push Valley on attack on Lakeville. You have some pretty good positions you can use here. And then the idea is that if you put pressure in the cap, the only thing the enemy can really do to decap is sniping from back here. And having spotters in the front. And possibly even if you can kill the spotters, they can't snipe from back here, so they have to rush in, right? So what you can do is you cap, like they're doing right now. You get some people into the middle, or even down here into the city. And you find a way to either spot these people by rushing in a bat shot, or spot or blind shoot their spotter, or hope they don't have a spotter, as in a spotter in the bushes, and only have a guy here, which you manage to kill. And then basically when the enemies are forced to cross to get in decaps on the weird angles, and get in spots to be able to decap. If you have, like, let's say, you know, 3, 4, 50Bs or 9 or 7s down there shooting them in the side, you utterly destroy even a heavy setup. But in a way, really, I actually really enjoy this tactic that they ended up doing here, YOUJO. I'm really not an expert on Lakeville. It's really not my best map in Clan Wars. And, you know, don't take this as a, I don't know, Genghis confirmed Kappa. Take this as a Genghis confirms it's interesting. But by having the 113s here and having a generally very mobile setup, they're able to react very quickly. I would change some things. I would probably have at least one STRV somewhere over there, because it's just a really great tank if you intend to camp, which at least to some degree they do. And I would probably definitely also, yeah, I would add one E3, which just stays in this general area. If the fight ends up being over here, he can shoot. And, right, so you have the 113s meeting the enemy heavies, and then you send in your 215Bs and 50Bs, well, and you have a fucking E3 from here shooting them in the side. And in the case they go for cap, like they did here, it's just very enjoyable to actually have like one E3 you can stand, hold down, and provide not only the spotting, but also make sure that he's going to be hard to trade against. Whereas the 907, as soon as it actually gets pushed by mouses, or 57s, or 113s, it just dies in the open, right? But otherwise it's really quite interesting, because thanks to having a very mobile setup, they're able to react quite quickly with the 8 113s, 250Bs. I would probably, yeah, personally take out the 2 907s and replace them by like an STRV and an E3 maybe, or take out something of the sort, right? But at the same time, thanks to having 215Bs and 50Bs, they have a lot of high accurate snipers, which allow them to camp quite well, or even very well. The only question really I have with this tactic, right, like the one weakness, or the one glaring weakness I see, is that another standard strategy the enemy could have done, would have been to, oh, the replay ends there, that's great, would have been to push the city with a super heavy setup. So let's say mouses or E100s and 57s, or even 215Bs and 57s maybe in a weird meta, or 50Bs or something. But yeah, I think the most common at this point would be probably mouses and 50Bs pushing the city, with, you know, a spotter here and a spotter here to make sure they don't spot your mouses crossing and you don't get wrecked, and an RT somewhere, and some stuff-based defending. And maybe even at some point a combined push, right? So you push your mouses and 50Bs in the city, and maybe you have 3, 4 bat shots or mediums going down the valley at that point, or down the middle. But basically, a situation where they would be able to cross with mouses or other very heavy tanks into the city, and you would have a fight between very heavy tanks and 113s, 215Bs and 50Bs. I'm not so sure how that goes. Maybe they could still make it work though by falling back with the 113, setting up good positions, having maybe an E3 and an STRV to add the sniping. But yeah, either way, I hope you enjoyed this video. Shout out to these tanks. Shout out to these clans. Very well played. Make sure you press the like button. Make sure you subscribe to me. Maybe cast a bell to stay up to date with my support, with my content. And if you want to, you can also support me on Facebook, on PayPal, and some other ways. All links in the description, as always. Hope you enjoyed. See you next time. Bye bye.